money, and by giving them money, freeing up money, they got emboldened. They got, I think, impatient. And October 7th was the catalyst, and this is, I think, Netanyahu's perception, his belief that with Trump in office early in his term, this is the best chance to partner with the American military and do what they have been talking about for decades, but nobody has ever had the right, set of circumstances. But with Netanyahu and Trump and all these other factors involved, I think they looked at it like, this is a chance we can't pass up. So I'm glad it happened. I think if it did completely eliminate their potential, their capability to create a nuclear weapon, it certainly set them back decades, if not longer.
How close do you estimate that they were going to be able to build the nukes? How far away were they from that, in your opinion?
Well, I don't have any special access to information, but I mean, from what I've read, based on the UN estimates, that they were exceeding the thresholds for nuclear energy. And so if that has been documented and I think confirmed or at least supported, strongly supported by external agencies, then whatever it is, it's too short of a runway. It's too short of a time period. Whether it was weeks or even years, they crossed the line, they crossed the boundary, and they knew what they were doing. They believed that no one would stop them, and they fathoed their way into this situation.
Does anybody know if the Atomic Agency was able to check in there? I think the situation, I forget the acronym for it, but
the IAEA.
Yeah, what's the involvement with them? Do they have any access to Iran stuff or no?
No, they did. That's the thing. They did up until Trump killed the deal. They was in there, full access to everything Iran did, and them and another agency confirmed that Iran was not going to pass the 3.67%. Now they're at possibly 60-70%, which is weapons grade uranium. And prior to Trump shutting that deal down, it was confirmed that they wasn't past 4%.
So wait, you're talking about Trump's deal from this year, or
I'm talking about the deal. The deal Obama put in place, that JCPOA, whatever it's called. That deal was the one that kept them under 4% until Trump scrapped the deal, and there happened no new deal since 2018, and that's when they started ramping up. It was confirmed by different agencies that they wasn't past 4% until Trump scrapped that deal.
I like how Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Joe Biden on day number 1 that he was announced as our president. So I just find it amazing how she can go from this social media darling of how, first of all, she supposedly outed like 100 trans people at the National, Defense Intelligence Network or whatever it is. There's like some secret trans cult. And she herself is in a cult, some kind of Hare Krishna cult, for world peace and meditation. And Trump knows that strength is the joy of the law. And when you're enriching uranium for energy, how difficult is it to just secretly pull off higher enrichment without anybody knowing, so you can get the materials necessary for that type of bomb? But now Russia and other countries are saying they'll give Iran a nuclear weapon. So you can open Pandora's box, and everybody here on this stupid app can clap themselves on their back and scream death to the mole, regime change now. But these loudmouth, disgusting people on this app, they're not going to go over there and fight with them. And the people in Iran aren't going to rise up and fight their government. Can you imagine people in the United States rising up and fighting their government? Can you imagine your nuclear facility near your house having a fucking Moab dropped on it? Iran didn't know who they were fucking with, but nonetheless, all of this is unconstitutional, and we all just keep going along with all this unconstitutionality. We have no constitution in this country. We don't even read it. We don't even know what's in it anymore because we don't follow it. So, I say stand with Thomas Massey and call out hypocrites, but people on this app need to stop running their mouths and probably go to the gym and read a book. I mean, people on this app are disgusting. They're trained in history. Their fucking breath stinks. And everybody on this app is pathetic. I am complete.
What is happening here? Like, are me and Edmund agreeing, or is he trolling? Like, if you're not trolling us, we are in total agreement.
I'm just speaking my truth. I mean, I'm not here reading scripts like some weird people that you can tell they're fucking reading scripts about Iran. You're like, who the fuck are these people? And why do they have such dramatic acting voices? And are they reading scripts?
Me and Edmund is agreeing 100%.
I mean, I'm not saying that there's not a speck of dust out of place in all the universe. Like, this was coming, and this dumb Iranians thought that we would never have the balls to do it. Well, we wouldn't have probably had the balls. See, that's the worst thing is Kamala and Tim Walz were in office, the same exact fucking thing probably would have happened. And maybe it would be even worse. Instead of being strategic about it, I bet you Tim Walz and Kamala would have been like, we're sending in the 1st Cavalry, the 101st Airborne. That's the type of psycho that they are. Trump, at least, is a discreet strategist, and hopefully he won't cost us, dead soldiers. And we can just do this the way that we should have done Afghanistan and Iraq, which was strategic targeted attacks and maybe limited special forces incursions. So, I mean, we have to fight these wars like guerrilla warriors. The country is broke. We're $40 trillion in debt. And they're passing, the big, beautiful bill, and it's $5 trillion. 40% of our economy is just borrowing from the Federal Reserve. The rich are going to get richer, and the banking industrial complex is going to have a new country to start investing in, and that's going to be called Iran. I mean, I'm all for change, but at least let's call people out for being hypocrite. And I'm also loving the new Anonymous because I can't, I get kicked out of rooms, I can just continue recording. So Marshall Stinkin' Rankin, the fake ass Republican from Texas on the border who knows everything, and he's a historian and a professor who kicks me out of every room, because nobody likes to have their stupidity recorded. I don't know, that's...
I see they done adopt you over to the other side. I remember when it first came out, you said you wasn't gonna pay the $5. So I see you see the use in it. Yeah.
I think I'm the only person who actually benefits from the Anonymous Plus feature. Everybody else is just like, ooh, cool, new feature, I'm gonna buy it. It's like, oh, okay, what are you gonna do? Go into a room anonymously so you can listen to people be stupid and record them and put them on the internet for your political campaign? I don't know. That's just me.
Hey, what do you think? Don't you think people's heads would explode if Clubhouse offered the option where for $5 more, you could be anonymous and speak in a room and not have the same privilege and speak? I think.
Oh my God, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I would pay $1,000 up front just to have that.
Yeah, they might do that, because that would be something really worth monetizing. It might run people away though, because people are such crap. If you're recording me, shut the fuck up. You recorded anyway. Like that's one thing I didn't get about the Edmund thing. Like, he's recording rooms. So the fuck. Like, what is he gonna do with that shit? I don't get. I never understood.
Netflix. That's the goal, right, Edmund? Netflix.
No, I mean, I'm running for Congress now, so now I have about 10,000 videos of listening and actually communicating with retarded people. So if you just Google my name, John Kitover, you come across about 20 different YouTubes, 10,000 plus videos of people on Clown House essentially wasting their time completely and entirely. It's total entertainment. There's no real education. It's gaslighting, grifting, and shitpot stirring. That's what it is. And, it's basically everybody competing to beat Oprah or Maury Povich. And there's some people who have a knack for it, and they're called sociopaths and psychopaths.
I mean, I don't think that Maury is a psychopath. I definitely don't. You know how many black holes that he's kept
A
together?
lot of narcissists on here. A lot of egotistical narcissists who think they're actually doing something when they're not making any money and not even producing anything creative. They're literally the definition of stupidity. Or insanity.
Yeah, but don't you think about, like, do you not think about how many black people actually met their fathers because of Maury?
What the fuck, Adam? Right? Let's not get on black people, please. Let's not do it. Don't worry me up.
You are one of my favorites, though, Adam. Like, you know, because, like, as somebody who sits here and actually creates clips of people on this app, I haven't done a clip of you in a while, but you are one of the funniest people on this app. And so what's interesting is when people curate these spaces and they want to introduce new speakers, there's, like, very definitive personalities and profiles, and you can kind of anticipate what they're going to say. And I think it's the people who are funny and outlandish on this app that are the special people. So kudos to you, Dr. Ed.
Well, hopefully when Oprah gets off of house arrest, maybe we can sit down and, talk about a special.
It's becoming that way. Clown House is a microcosm. I feel like it's a really untapped, rich resource of content. And I'm doing my best to capture that. And Anonymous has allowed me to essentially record Roger Mayhem, aka Mojo Rooms, for the past couple days, and Jay Bresker Rooms for the past couple days. And it's great content, and people on YouTube like it. And if it's not on record, the thing is nobody goes back and listens to replays anyways. It's a waste of time. People want to be in the moment, be a part of the experience. But using this as campaign content, because it's all political, to me is invaluable. And I feel like a lot of people can benefit from the content here, especially with Anonymous. I mean, it's political content for your constituents, or just for audiences to enjoy the entertainment. But there's also a lot of very disgusting people here on this app, people who want to hide in use it as their little experimental playground for their propaganda, their cultural Marxist washing and brainwashing. And so, I don't know, I feel like Anonymous really sets this place free in the sense that those who may think they hold power or privilege here, or they get these stupid things called green beans, as if they're important. Nobody makes any money from this, so it's just a delusional, collection of retards, literally just getting their dopamine pull. And I love recording it because to me, it's invaluable. There's no other place to really observe such a close-knit network of retards waste all their.
Hey guys, how's it going, guys?
What's up, Bouchard?
Not bad, not bad. I've been following the news over the past couple of days, and finally something's happening. So,
has anybody determined what percentage of the bombs on the 3 nuke sites are the equivalent in the Hiroshima, Nagasaki detonations? Because if you look at the total tonnage of TNT, you can actually calculate out what the percentage is in terms of TNT power. Was it the same as a nuclear bomb from the 1940s?
probably not, because the nuclear bomb that they dropped on Hiroshima destroyed the whole city. This, they just dropped it on a few.
I know, but I'm not talking about circumference here. I'm talking about the actual TNT calculations, because the Hiroshima left 100,000 tons of TNT. So what was the total tonnage of this detonation? Because don't forget, it had to penetrate down very deep.
Yeah.
I think it was
So I got you.
60,000.
It was 60,000 tons of TNT?
No, 16,000 kilotons.
Anyways, is anybody in America worried about Shia sleeper cells and terrorist attacks? Or are you more worried about
Yes.
cycle?
No, I'm worried about this crazy
No,
government.
I'm more worried about. I'm more worried about white liberals, to be very honest with you, comedian.
Exactly.
I think that white liberals are going to be the most upset about this. Like, I was on Clubhouse yesterday and I walked into a store owned by an Iranian person, and he was listening to the conversation, and the dude slapped me 5. He's like, I'm so happy that this shit is actually happening. Like, and nobody.
Iranian people own stores there?
What are you talking about? Los Angeles has the biggest Iranian population outside of Iran. Like, what are you talking about?
I never.
People are actually happy about this shit. Like, right. So people are actually happy about this shit. Have you ever heard of a section in Los Angeles called Little Tehran?
Never. I'm in Florida.
Got it. So it's between the 405 freeway, okay, and Beverly Glen. On the, like, basically coming up to the west side of Los Angeles. It's like a little bit further south than Westwood. You have a huge Iranian population there that are completely elated at the fact that this has happened. Like, even growing up in
But
Orange
how do
County,
we know they're all happy about this?
even growing up in Orange County, I lived next to a lot of Iranian people. Like, they used to go to freaking Iran during the summer and, like, used to come back, you know, just completely different people. Like, they absolutely hated going back to a country where they experienced, like, a level of oppression that they did, especially the women. Like, could you imagine growing up in Newport Beach and then you get on a plane to go, you know, on your summer vacation to go visit your grandparents in Iran, and all of a sudden now you need to wear a hijab?
Adam, the Iranians in LA, they go as Persians for a reason. I was wondering if you know why.
Well, I love the thought of somebody from Tehran, Jalise, going over there with a bazooka and an M16A4 to go battle some, you know, Iranian counter-terrorist forces. It's so fucking laughable. And so this whole thing is so inauthentic. Like, if there was, you know, if nobody ever picks up a rifle, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go fight my government. Like, nobody decides to do that unless shit gets so bad, you know, for you collectively that people get together. Like maybe the Revolutionary War. You know, shit got that bad where they were sending in German mercenaries to kill everybody. So, I mean, until there's like an actual conflict, all this is inauthentic and artificial. And let alone, nobody wants to talk about the possible Epstein connection with Trump and how he could potentially be being blackmailed. I've never heard one person bring that up, let alone Elon Musk just 3 weeks ago said that Trump is in the Epstein flight log. So, I don't know if he's alluding to the fact that Trump, you know, is a pedophile, or the fact that he's being blackmailed by Israel. So it's like nobody wants to talk about these things, and all that shit is just falling off a cliff now that real bombs are exploding. So everybody is just a fucking moth, and as soon as there's a candle that gets lit, everybody just goes, "Look, there's a candle! What the fuck just happened over the past couple years?
So
I don't even have a battery anymore."
So you don't think that Elon Musk and Donald Trump, that little bit of them having that fake beef, you don't think that that was to correct Elon's stock prices?
No, Elon is a fucking disaster. He fucked himself, shot himself in the foot. He's his own worst enemy. He had a space on X last night under Adrian Dittman. And, you know, he's a schmuck. And he put his foot in his mouth, and now he's out of favor. And he tried to do a public relations management for him and his brands, but he's that much of an autistic moron. If he never would have said anything, he would be far more wealthy. You know, if he was a true liberal psychopath, he would be far more successful now than he is. But it doesn't matter. The guy is so set for life, he doesn't have shit to worry about. The guy is, you know, one of the richest people on the planet. And he helped Trump get into office, so... I don't know, but to me the whole thing is, it's like, is the U.S. really going to fly C-130s with paratroopers and drop them off in the southeast corner of Tehran?
Wait, so are you implying that an African American helped Donald Trump become president?
Yeah, fucking without a doubt. Without X, we would have medical tyranny, we would have censorship to the highest level possible. I mean, you know how many accounts everybody has had deleted on X because liberals didn't like what they were saying about the administration? There was total top-down censorship from the White House, FBI, CIA, Peter Strzok, all these fucking pieces of shit in the government and in big tech who circulate between federal agencies and big tech platforms. They completely closed all censor. You couldn't talk about the vaccine as being dangerous. And it turns out that, oh my God, it's super dangerous. And you had a 400% myocarditis increase in young men. So you want to talk about genocide? Oh, 50,000 babies and women in Gaza. What about like 1 point something million or maybe a couple million people from getting Pfizer J&J stuck in their fucking bloodstream? For what? They would have been fine without it. And where are the arrests? You know, no one has been arrested in this government or previous governments or corporations for what we know is outright fraud, waste, abuse, theft, fraud, fucking murder. I mean, this is a depopulation. Nobody's having babies. Look at the charts. You know, what is Elon Musk's big thing? Oh, there's a depopulation crisis. Oh my God, maybe the vaccine has something to do with it. Why does a child get 60 fucking injections? It's like 6 months old. What the fuck? This is corporate insanity. Corporate lobbying insanity. Every congressman who has received money from Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and all the health insurance companies, so they keep putting out $2 trillion a year in Medicaid, so these companies can keep existing. We live in an artificial fucking economic bubble. Nothing in this country is authentic anymore. Not the wars, not the dollar, nothing. Everybody knows we're living in a huge illusion. Nothing is really genuine anymore. This way.
Alhamdulillah.
Oh, no, fuck that shit. Fuck, like, what are you talking about?
I'm saying when 40% of our economy...
No, I'm talking about the person, alhamdulillah, like, what the fuck, like, what is it?
No, Pikachu's a great speaker, and yesterday he applauded Donald Trump for taking this strike, and he thanked Trump on behalf of all the Jewish people in the world, which I thought was beautiful, because truly, you know, nuclear-armed Iran is a significant problem for the people of Israel who are surrounded by multiple very vicious countries. So, you know, this is like a chess game, and Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are chess grandmasters. And I don't think anybody can keep up with them at this point. Like whoever throws that first punch and gets that bloody nose is the one who has an 80% chance of winning now. So I salute you, Pika.
Alhamdulillah. Peace be upon him, Donald Trump. Alhamdulillah.
The worst thing is no one can believe this is happening. It's because it's just so crazy. But the truth is, this is life. Like, it's easy to sit back and say and complain and criticize all this shit. But when you really look at human history, you're like, oh, I should have even anticipated this. You know, but nobody wants to anticipate this kind of shit because it's just so crazy.
Listen, in 1,000 years from now, Donald J. Trump will be seen as the next prophet. I'm telling you.
He will go down in history as being like a golden king, like with the Midas touch. I mean, it's his branding, though, which is what has accomplished this.
In the Third Testament, there will be a new prophet, and that will be in the name of Donald J. Trump. It's prophecy. It's in the books. It's going to happen. I mean, I think they said that a prophet comes before the Moshiach. After the golden prophet comes, the Moshiach then arrives. You know that old song, comedian? Moshiach, Moshiach, Moshiach.
The saying isn't there will be Mashiach, Mashiach is coming. The statement is Mashiach is now. That's the secret to understanding what's happening now. I mean, does Iran even have any friends or allies other than their little proxy forces in Yemen or Lebanon? I mean, is any other country going to step up for them and say, you know what, you guys have been unfairly attacked and you're a good, righteous government? You know, no, I don't think so, right? I mean, you don't have friends. or a crew or associates who come in and essentially reposition. I mean, it's a balancing act.
They certainly have plans. I would expect you to know that they definitely have Russia and China, but not saying they're actually going to step in, but it's very possible that they may. Like, it's already suspected that China was giving Iran the missile to shoot down F-35, which they say they shot down 4. It's not confirmed. So I'm not saying it's a fact, but it's believed that China have given them some special weapons that they normally
If
would
there were
have.
4 F-35 shot down, it would have been all over the news. Not one news station actually reported that. And the Israelis haven't confirmed that either.
100%. Nobody confirmed. I got you.
From the 7th, sorry to interrupt, from the 7th of October, I started to really become a believer. I mean, it is inconceivable to imagine how miraculous things have turned since the 7th of October in favor of Israel in relation to getting rid of Hamas, getting rid of Hezbollah, right? Effectively upturning Syria's internal and external domestic issues, and furthermore then attacking Iran. I mean, if there's any time to start believing in God, now would be the time. Because for such a small nation, such a tiny nation the size of New Jersey, to do what it's done is miraculous. And I have to say that before Donald Trump got elected, I prayed so hard for him to become the President of the United States of America so that this day would come. And it wasn't just me who was praying like this, it was the whole Jewish nation who was praying like this. So thank God we're in a position now where we can actually start fixing and healing this very sick planet.
Do you think, though, that if Waltz and Kamala were president and VP, do you think that the outcome would have been the same, though? That, just like the pandemic, scamdemic, I mean, war is a racket, and therefore, this was coming, and they caught the Iranians.
She didn't even have the balls to talk about what was going on the university campuses, never mind the same outcome. She would have thrown more money at the shit and said, yeah, we go, let's do another deal with these guys. Let them get their atomic weapon so they can then start, attacking us with it in any which way they want. Or using that against us, or bribing us. That's what that ploy was. I mean, when Obama wanted to give them money, that was when it all went wrong. That's when it all went.
I mean, supposedly it was their money, that was the saying, but, what's the point of giving these fuckers billions of dollars? I mean, I don't know, Obama gets a bad rap. That fucking guy dropped 27,000 bombs, supposedly, during his second administration. I mean, all these numbers are coming out of how Obama is chief deporter, chief bomber. But, I mean, they didn't want to cross that line with Iran, but, I mean, this is like, the attacks have been so fucking strategic and supposedly executed so well. I mean, but, people talk about blowback, and blowback, it's real. So, I mean, I don't want to go to any music fests this summer. Go to a music fest, you might die.
The next few years are going to have to be a little bit more streetwise, I do agree with you. But at the same time, it's going to take a while to clean up the shit.
Yeah, it'll definitely spill over into the next administration. So it'll be interesting to see who the Democrats put forward. I suspect it'll be Vance. If I had to guess right now, it'd probably be Vance and Rubio on the ticket. And if the Democrats are going to try to unseat Kamala, I don't know right now, except for maybe Gavin, but he's so fucking, I don't know who's more toxic, Gavin or Kamala. But I don't know who else they have on the bench. I mean, I guess you could say some of the governors, Pritzker, Whitmer.
There's no way in hell that Gavin Newsom is going to become our next president. There's just simply no way in hell.
Yeah, but he might be the nominee.
Yeah, plenty of people every year are nominated for Grammys. Does it make him the best song of the year? No. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Gavin Newsom can run all he wants. He's not going to win the presidency.
And man, for Donald Trump to have done what he's done in the first 6 months of his presidency is just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, look, there was always going to be blowback from everything that he was going to do, but he came in to an absolute shitstorm, which he really had been thinking about the last 4 years, how he's going to clean it up. And from day dot, he's doing the job.
Yeah, I don't know. So, Matt, I'm going to the Palisades today. This should be interesting.
Oh, really? Back to the crime scene.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. I actually have a few patients in our facility that don't have clothes because the National Guard wouldn't let them back into their homes. Even despite the fact that their homes didn't burn down, they won't let them back there to actually get clothes. It's crazy. That's actually going to be my next stop after the Palisades, is to go to Burlington Coat Factory out of my own money and get this woman a few outfits. So at least she has clothes. It's very disgusting in what's happening.
Man, that's horrible. Ugh.
Has the regime change ever worked? Like, look at Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, they go back to elections or their Islamic caliphate. I mean, you can't get rid of the people who live in a place. Otherwise, that's called genocide. So it's like, this whole thing is like very strategic. I mean, but the Iranians, I mean, shit, imagine if they would have invested all that money in building energy plants using petroleum. They wouldn't be having this problem. So you make bad decisions in life, you have bad outcomes, and the voters in Iran, even though they probably, voters, you've seen them hold up their finger, their paint on it. Like, I just voted, here's my finger with paint on it. It's like, well, you made some bad decisions on who you voted for. Your leaders probably should have stopped the uranium enrichment and nuclear facilities and invested in, oil and negotiated peace deals. I mean, these fucking idiots. It's like, can't people just make good decisions and invest for the future and strategically and wisely without creating conflict? And what the fuck's wrong with people? It's like, well, fuck around and find out.
Well, it just goes to show you just how little they care about their own people. You know what I mean? Like, all these, all these decisions are none of the people that really have voted for. You know what I mean? In a true sense of the word. So they're literally being dictated. The people in charge are literally dictating these folks' lives. It's crazy. Like, really nuts.
They're led by zealots, and it won't change until Islam undergoes a reformation. I mean, we'll be seeing these backwards countries with the majority of the people at like a fourth grade education supporting the religious zealots to some degree until
What about those
they
things
go.
at the White House and Joe Biden fucking doing Trans Appreciation Day every day of the week and supporting genital mutilation for young children? I mean, and paying for it through Medicare. Like, we have our own significant fucked up cultural problems in this country, and thank God it's gone. But that specter is still there. These liberal psychopaths. The American population is stupid, and our voting system sucks. The Democrats can and will come back into power. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just can't stand when people talk shit about the Iranian government, but yet they're not going to balance it with how fucked up our stupid government is. Because the whole world is clown world, but I think our clown world is worse than their fucking clown.
you bring up an interesting point. I mean, we all know Biden was asleep at the wheel, right? I mean, I think everybody's pretty much can confirm that he was not there completely. And I think we're gonna find out a lot more very soon. So it just makes you wonder all this diddle daddling that he was doing and not, you know, being cognitive enough to know what was going on. It's probably gonna turn out that like they probably knew a lot more over there in Iran, doing what they were doing. You know what I mean? And like they weren't doing anything; they were just kind of sitting around. You know? So I don't know. There's a lot more stuff to this. And yeah, you're right. I mean, both our governments are just kind of diddle daddling right now.
I don't know. Don't you think it's crazy though for people on this app to be calling for, you know, death, chaos, mayhem, regime change, and what that entails? It's like you don't regime change without going down without a fight. So it's like, wow, you got such a big mouth. You know, you can spew so much propaganda, but you're not going to go over there and fight with these people. And are you going to go work 3 days a week to support a proxy war? So these people can take out their government and we can buy them all the weapons. And he's like, when does the spending ever fucking stop in this country? It's just not going to stop. We're running a Ponzi scheme. You know, it's great if you're on one side of the fence. It's terrible if you're on the other side of the fence. I don't know. Everything is like a result of World War II and the dollar being the world reserve preferred currency. You know, we got so much fucking juice in the system that we can get away with doing this, but no other country can afford to do what we do, and we haven't really taken a significant loss. I mean, yeah, you may have lost your life in Afghanistan before the withdrawal, you know, but like, I mean, in terms of like major losses, America is like the last man standing. I mean, let alone we're still engaged in Ukraine. It's like, but thank God we got Trump there because Zelensky is such a little fucking rat. I mean, he's such a rat bastard. And what has happened to Ukraine is just, you know, I can't stand anybody who goes on about the 50,000 women and children in Gaza, but they're not going to talk about like probably 2 million people that are dying in fucking wasteland, that have died in wastelands in Ukraine.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the million plus children in America that are murdered by abortion. Nobody wants to have that conversation either.
100,000 a month at a cost of over $1 billion a month for taxpayers. It's like, that's a straight up genocide. Why the fuck do we give the money to these fat lesbian OBGYN liberal psychopath doctors? $1 billion a month. We should give that fucking money to the 100,000 women that kill their children for these doctors who get 10,000 plus per surgery. So where the money goes, Medicare, Medicaid is the problem. It shouldn't go to these fucking doctors and these health corps and insurance corps. The money should go to the fucking pregnant mother who would prefer to have a $10,000 check and free health care to have that baby. Because if we have a population crisis, we have to stop funding. We have to stop the flow of money to these abortion clinics and give the money to our American women so they can fucking have a child. We are a sick society. And it's just right there, it's on every street corner. I can look out my window right now. There's fucking abortion doctors on the corner of my fucking street here in Chicago. It's like, I don't want you to make an income anymore. I would prefer that these women have a child and a check.
Or these same women that ask for, you know, equal treatment can stop fucking with no impunity and get a job.
Yeah, but why do we give a female abortion doctor $10,000 to Da Vinci machine a baby's corpse and put it in a bottle? We could give that money to the woman. We need children. If we're such a war-fighting country, we need warriors. We need children to fill the gaps, to take over from the baby boomers. We're going to have a huge labor shortage in this country and a lack of IQ because everybody's TikToked and brain rotted out. There's no replacement for all the people in the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the Coast Guard. We have raised a generation of sick people, fully vaccinated, incapable of coming to the high-end demands of military service. Go look at your average 13-year-old. They're sick. They're skinny. They're weak. They're fully vaxxed, triple boosted. They've been lied to, masked up. I mean, we're the worst. world. Mojo down there wants to plant a flag, the U.S. flag and the Israeli flag in Tehran. He wants us to do a ground incursion and take out these Muslim terrorist bastards. Is he right? Is he wrong? Who knows?
Oh, it's MAGA Mojo. Hello, sir.
What's up, Roger?
Not much. What's going on?
Nothing much. I see Edmund disappeared.
He ran.
No, I think he was helped out the door.
Yeah, shoved out the door.
He was actually making sense today.
Yeah, he was on some different medication doses or something.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? So what's going on? Catch me up. Give me like, let's see which one of you guys can give me a 30-second recap of where.
What his room is at? Nah, this room is on. There's no 30-second recap. Where we at this point? No, no, no.
I'll give you a 30-second recap of what I did last night in between, helping to help with modding a room. I went to a local Native American casino, went to the craps table, ran over it so sufficiently that they came over and they shut down the table. They said, "Hey, this table's closing. We're gonna move everybody over to this other one." And what was crazy is like they had 3 craps tables, all 3 of them were full, but I got there and like within 2 shooters I was up $7,800, and like I think they just freaked out and they were just like, "This table's closed." And then I went and I spoke to not just the pit boss but the person that ran the floor, and I asked, well, like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they said, "Oh, it's a staffing issue." And I said, "Oh, okay, cool. Hey, do you mind coming with me for a second?" And so we walked over, back over to like where the pit games were at, the table games, and sure enough, they'd shut down like one of the craps tables. And it only takes it really only takes 3 people to run a craps game, right? And we walk over and I show them these fucking 6 tables that are completely empty, playing these like worthless other games. I go, "What about these people?" He's like, "Oh, they're not trained on how to play craps." I go, "Yeah, but the people that were here were trained. Why didn't you send a few of these knuckleheads home and keep the craps table going that was thriving?" He's like, "Well, we were able to squeeze everybody in." And it's like, if you look at the other 2, like there was people that left, and then every spot was like completely squeezed in. I was just like, "Dude, you guys are crazy." I go, if you're hurting so bad, I go, "You're a casino. You have a license to print money." I go, "If you're hurting so bad because one player came in here and within 2 fucking shooters was able to roll over you," I go, "Man, you guys got some problems, man." I mean, like, close the restaurants that people aren't eating, shut down the tables that nobody are playing, maybe add a couple of fucking slot machines, but don't fucking close down on a fucking Saturday night a nice little game of craps. I go, "This is ridiculous." And he goes, "Well, we've got our customers and they know what happens when we have shift change." I go, "So that was a shift change?" And then he's like, "Yeah." And then I go, "Oh, who else left?" And then he's all this conversation's over. I was like, "All right, fucking." I went and got my car and got back on the fucking horn with you guys and argued about, had to listen to some fucking kid that's never been to the Middle East tell a stage full of people that lived in Israel how much he knew about the conflict. It was the weirdest fucking thing. Hakima, can you imagine if fucking you had a room full of people where you guys were all from the local Chicago area, and then you had some young kid that came in that watched one YouTube video, read one book about Chicago, and then lectured to you about, I don't know, the crime in Chicago, it was a problem.
100%.
Yeah, that's what it was. Fucking guy was a retard. By the end, I don't block people except for Edmund, but I ended up blocking this guy. He was so fucking annoying.
He was crying. He was crying.
Was he crying?
Yes.
You caught that, right? Didn't you?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Oh, you had just came in right after. Oh man, Roger, you would have. That was the topping on the cake on that one. He literally was crying.
What was he crying about?
Adams, you were there, right? Yeah, Adams was there. So I didn't know any between the tears and everything that he was doing. I couldn't figure out what the hell he was bitching about. Something about being unsafe, that he didn't have a bunker. Actually, you came in for that because you're the one that offered him a bunker to build a bunker, right?
Oh yeah, I posted the link. Atlas Shelters. Yeah. They make beautiful bunkers.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever heard whatever that.
Oh no, you're talking about the guy Ross. I'm sorry. That guy was a troll. This other guy was Josh. Yeah. This is Josh that was going off. That was like, I mean, here's the weird thing. Josh is really good at fucking pulling up Wikipedia or fucking, like ChatGPT, and if you start getting into a topic, he'll go, back in 19 blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, let's have a fucking conversation, because you go one layer beyond whatever he fucking said, and then his thumbs don't type that fast, so then he's fucking dead and he can't talk about it. It's just so fucking hilarious. I mean, look, I'm gonna be fucking very candid about this. There might be a half a dozen people on this app that are super well versed in what's going on in Israel and the history of Israel. I mean, there's a lot of Jewish people on here. There's a lot of people that have lived in Israel, but there's maybe a half a dozen that are scholarly about it, right? And if you have real conversation, they'll admit this to you. Right? They'll admit it to you. And this fucking little twerp from fucking Ohio that drives a truck that read one book and watched a fucking video, he had to keep prefacing everything by, do you know who Benny Morris is? He's telling a room full of fucking Israelis and Jews, saying, do you know who Benny Morris is? And then he'll go and he'll give you one Benny Morris quote, and then and then you start asking him what else he might know about Benny Morris, and then he's done because his Wikipedia article.
Yeah, he tried going the Noam Chomsky route as well. That didn't work.
Yeah, I was there for that. The Josh guy, right? I was kind of away for a little bit. Yeah, that guy was, oh man.
It is a little twerp. Here's the richest part. You guys are gonna love this. He literally said that I'm a communist sympathizer. And with this commie sympathizing ways, I said, wait a minute, you come in here on this humanitarian mission saying that Israel and the U.S. are somehow doing something wrong, but do you know that in the last century 100 million people died because of communism? And then he's like, oh, those numbers are a little inflated. I go, okay, let's be the most charitable. In China, Mao in the first 4 years killed 50 million people. By the time he's done, it was up 65 million. Let me welcome some people up if they want to come up. I see my friend Ken Frankel up in the building. It's so good to see him. I've seen him yesterday for the first time since I've been back. Really cool to see him. But anyhow, the this little twerp was trying to tell the room that the CCP has been a net benefit to the people of China. And I go, about the 65 million people killed, the 50 million that were killed in the first 4 years. And he literally said, well, if you look at the population and percentage-wise, it's still a net benefit. It was like, okay, now you're dead to me. I can't take you serious. It's fucking crazy. Let me get David Katz up here. Ken, what's going on? Can you make some sense of all this stuff?
Well, I looked at the title of the room, and obviously whatever you're just talking about is not the title of the room, so I have no comment on right now anything to do with China, because I don't know really what context you're talking about it.
I'm just talking about an uninformed guy that came in here from Ohio. He was a young kid that drives a truck, and he watched a YouTube video with Benny Morris, and he's read one book, forget the title of it, it didn't sell very well. I remember looking that up. And that was his experience on the state of Israel and the conflict with Hamas and with Iran. And he came in here and lectured an entire room of people that was made up of Jews and diaspora of Jews, as well as people that lived in Israel or formerly lived in Israel. It was one of the weirdest. I mean, kid, you're probably the best at this, of calling people out that, like, hey, why are we letting this person talk? This person doesn't know anything about. This was the worst offense of its kind ever in history. But because it was like almost comical, we allowed it to happen. Everybody just kind of took turns like shitting down this guy's neck. You would have blew a fucking gasket on the grounds of he knew nothing of what he was speaking.
And then somehow you got to China on this thing. Is that because you were talking?
Yeah. So the same kid that claimed to be an expert on Israel versus Hamas, Israel versus Iran, the history of the region. He can go back thousands of years. He understood the conflict. This same kid, after lecturing the room about how evil Israel and the U.S. is, then went into talking about the virtues of communist China and how communism would save us. And then when we asked him about all the death that the communists brought to China, he said that it was okay because it's been a net because look at where China's at today.
Okay, all right. I don't really have a comment on that because it was, you're not talking about the same young man from last night, right? It was a different guy, right?
This guy was here last night. His name was Josh.
Yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah. Jesus, if you were there, the conversation would have probably been a lot shorter. We would have.
I tried to shorten it. I don't think I was. Maybe you weren't listening.
I spent a great deal of last night on a casino floor. I apologize if I wasn't.
Oh, okay. I hope you did well. No. I tried a little bit because I tried to get. As you know, I tried to get that conversation more narrow, because people go all over the map. They were going back to 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. And I don't want to go relitigate that whole thing last night. I mean, it's not really worth it at this point. I mean, my interest was you have a title on the room about the War Powers, which is something I've studied since I was a college student. And I'm old, so when I studied it, it was,
let's get into this. 1973 because we can throw out the AUMF because it's not in place, and I don't think it really covers Iran anyway. But the 1973 War Powers Act. I mean, I guess the bigger question from your perspective: should Trump worry at all that there's a case to be made that what he did, was outside of the scope of?
Well, people could always make an argument, but I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this. It's that the whole issue of the War Powers Act is they're always difficult issues because you have two parts of the Constitution that arguably are somewhat in conflict. Congress's unique powers to declare war, and the president's powers under Article 2 to be commander-in-chief. When the Constitution was written, people need to keep this in mind. There were no planes, there were no submarines, there were no nuclear weapons, okay? So when they wrote that, they're talking, in their minds, they're talking about the ways that wars were conducted then, with basically, ground forces, that are crossing borders, okay? That to them, that was a war. The idea of who gets to decide whether there's a missile attack, okay, that may in fact start a war or be the start of a war, or maybe it's a one-off, however you want to define this thing, okay? They couldn't conceive of that, okay? So you have to now balance out the reality of the world that we live in today, including the fact that we do have, weapons of mass destruction, okay? And is it viable? Like this situation that happened yesterday, is it viable to go to Congress for something like this, and I would argue it's not, because you need to conduct it in secrecy. Whether you like what Trump did or not is irrelevant. Okay, let's leave that aside. He did what he did. Okay, if you want to conduct an operation like that, okay, how do you need secrecy. You can't debate it with 535 members of Congress. And they have put processes in place. We haven't heard a lot about it on the news, but I do know it happened. They have been all sorts of attempts to try to balance out this congressional power, right? So one of the things that happens in a situation like this, okay, in terms of who gets notified in advance, okay, maybe it's only an hour in advance or 2 hours in advance or whatever. There's something called, it could be a day in advance. It's up to the president, but there's something called the Gang of Eight, which are 8 senior members in the House and the Senate that are the majority and minority ranking members of like the Armed Services Committee and I think maybe Foreign Relations, in both houses that get notified. Okay. So they can say that they notify, that they just didn't, they don't need their permission. They just basically notify them, this is going to take place. And so no, I don't believe he needed it. The more complicated question on the War Powers Act, just to give an example, where I think it's a better debate actually than this thing for now, is when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. This is the Obama administration, and there was a civil war in Libya, and the United States started sending missiles into Libya. And Tim Kaine, who was actually Hillary's running mate when she ran for president, okay? So, you would think generally ideologically aligned. Tim Kaine has been a big advocate of always trying to get the War Powers Act, and saying you need to go to Congress. And so even though Hillary was Secretary of State, she wasn't Secretary of Defense, but nonetheless it was the Obama administration and her that were supporting these missile attacks into Libya. He was saying they need to stop that unless they get congressional authority. Okay? And so he was a little bit on the opposite side of where she was. And I think that's a more interesting debate because it wasn't sort of like a one-off. It was a more prolonged, bombing of Libya, they were getting involved in a civil war, and depending on what your views of that are, we don't need to even debate that. I think that's a much more interesting example of where maybe that comes into play. But if you read the language even of the War Powers Act, it still is based on troop movements. It's kind of based on, if you send troops somewhere and you don't have a congressional, the declaration of war, and you don't get a permission from Congress, now you need to pull the troops back, okay? So it's still based on troop movements more than, the types of, significant military stuff that can happen through the air than, in the, current 21st century, that we live at. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that.
Ken, let me ask you a question real quick, if you don't mind. So I'm just kind of going through the summary of the War Powers Act. It says essentially that